world. Everybody's got their own dreary world, and at some point you hear this call to adventure, call to something greater. But the common theme is every hero refuses that call at first. You refuse that call until you hit a point where you cross the threshold and you start on your journey, you start on your path. And that's when the tests, the trials, allies, enemies show up. You know, you can imagine like the Rocky montage here, right? And so, at a certain point, and this is the central theme of what I wanted to go and say here, is not knowing. That is going into the unknown. And it can be scary. Not knowing, because we give up so many things. We give up our sense of security, we give up our sense of self, our own identities, what we've identified with. We go into the unknown to go and discover things. And what happens there is that is the magic, that is the juice of where all this lies. And there is this central theme that you've heard throughout the weekend, that at some point, all these speakers have really shared this idea of being broken. And Lewis, physically, in his story, was one of being physically broken to go and create this. All of us in different ways, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, in these different ways. Campbell calls it the innermost cave. And almost when the hero faces death. So, my mom and dad, when I was born, my story really begins with them. They had no idea I was going to be born with a disability. I was born in '86, so the ultrasound technology was a lot different then. And they were really young. My dad was 22 years old when I was born in the Army. Mom, she's 25, she was working as a temp secretary. So they were young, first kid. Mom's working as a secretary. Dad was getting out of the Army about 3 weeks after I was born. I was born at Walter Reed Army Medical, where now many of our amputees that have come back from Iraq and Afghanistan come home to go and do their rehabilitation. And born there at first, it was very confusing. It was a confusing, hard, just emotionally, just like tumultuous time for them. They didn't necessarily know. And you imagine, I don't have any kids of my own. I have a baby niece now, and I can only imagine, what they went through, sort of not having any idea. It was before the days of Google, where you could go and type in the name of something and go and figure out that other people have lived a successful life. So there's a lot of fear there. And early on, though, they tried to seek mentors and people that maybe had a similar condition as what I was born with, and they didn't even really know what caused it. And they still, to this day, don't have any idea. And they stopped looking for answers, though, realized it didn't matter. It was what it was. And they made a decision that they weren't, the most important decision in my life, that they were not going to go and treat me any different from any other kid. And in doing so, it's easy to go and say, but it's really can be difficult in practice. Because even something as simple as, having me learn how to go and eat by myself. I used a prosthetic spoon to go and eat at first, and I used that spoon to go and scoop up food. But a lot of times we would forget it at home. We'd go out to a friend's house or a restaurant and not have it there. My mom or my grandma would go and feed me. And my dad had to tell me, he's like, look, you guys have got to stop. Like, he has to go and learn how to do this on his own. And there's going to come that time where he's not going to want mom and dad, just or mom, grandma, hanging out behind him, feeding him, senior prom day, oh, here's a laptop. So, they had to let me fail a lot, dropping it 1,000 times. I don't really have any memory of this experience, but they let me go through those failures and eventually just go and figure it out. And that spoon is kind of really a small metaphor for what my entire life has been now, where it is, now on a day-to-day, there's not really that many adaptations or things that are different. For instance, use a pretty typical, normal iPhone, all of that. Drive a fairly minimally adapted vehicle. It's an Acura MDX. It's just got lifted pedals, extended pedals. It's a normal steering wheel, grab a steering wheel with my arm, and sometimes I've thoroughly freaked out my friends answering my iPhone and trying to